Good evening, everyone. Would like to call to order this meeting of the West Palm Beach City Commission. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, and the time is 5 p.m. We will start this meeting off, as we do all of our meetings, with a moment of silence. Madam President, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remind everyone of the rules of civility and decorum that govern this meeting. Officials shall be recognized by the chair and shall not interrupt the speaker. Public comment should be addressed to the City Commission as a whole and not to any individual on the dais or in the audience. Displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, lack of respect, and personal attacks are strictly prohibited. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations should not be permitted. Please govern yourselves accordingly, as offenders may be removed from the meeting. Also, any person desiring to address the Commission shall file a written request in the form of a comment card for each agenda item the person wishes to address. That card is to be delivered to the City Clerk prior to the consideration of the matter, and it shall include the person's full name, address, and the numbered agenda item. If those items aren't included, or if it isn't delivered at that time, the person will not be recognized and the comment card will not be accepted. All right, Madam City Administrator, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. I am pleased to announce that we do have another in our installment of Why West Palm, and we will be hearing a presentation from Imran Gunes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir. State your name, and because I know I messed it up, so please.
No worries. I get that all the time.
Oh, okay.
I'll try to be clear as much as I can with the accent I have. But Imran Ganesh, I came to West Palm Beach around 2010. And I immigrated from here, Turkey. I started down right there, Nikos Pizza, as a dishwasher. I worked my way up there. I used to work for City of Lake Worth for a little bit, but I always lived in West Palm, worked in West Palm. Now I'm a real estate agent and a real estate investor. I've done tons of work in the city. I have some communities that I'm involved past 10 years. One of them is the Jim Cole CrossFit Squad, right around the corner. I'm the member of 10 years. And as well as the Sod Olive School, I have some partnership. Why West Palm? There's so many things to say positive. There's always people to see negative. There's always something. For me, it's where the dream comes through, where I used to work for a property management company, drive from Dade County to Martin County. I've seen a lot of cities, villages, county, how handle, but West Palm over the 10 years, what I've seen is changed so much better, and I'm happy to be part of the City of West Palm resident, as right now I'm a father to 5 years old. He goes to kindergarten. He loves Lego. We always build Lego at home, and right now, at this moment, I'm doing the real estate and the marketing, and building a lot of community events. One of them is that I like taking pictures, and I took some great shots, and I emailed the city, and not just they were to say, hey, just drop it, come in the city and present it, so I appreciate that you guys taking time, bringing me here, and doing that.
Absolutely. So you got something to present to us?
Yes, I do.
I'll come down and
I actually brought two just in case one to your office, one to City Hall. Where we do it? Here?
Beautiful picture. Commissioners, we will be doing these from time to time. I think it's good to hear from our public, those people who have positive things to say about our city, and this was a prime example. All right, we will now turn to the consent calendar, items 7.1 through 7.7. Consent items, 7.1 through 7.7. Do we have any cards on consent? We don't have any cards. Any comments, questions on consent? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we accept the consent calendar as presented.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.1, resolution number 93-23, establishing the calculation for the historic preservation height bonus assessment applicable in certain sub-districts of the Northwood Mixed-Use District. Who is speaking to this item? Oh, is this to be continued?
According to
Yes, it is.
according
All
to
right.
the zoning department, it's being continued, Mayor.
To November 27th, so I need a motion to that effect, please.
Mayor, I move we continue item 8.1 to the November 27th City Commission meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.2, resolution number 214-23, approving a stipulation of parties between the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, the Florida Department of Transportation, and the City of West Palm Beach to close within the South Florida Rail Corridor 2 public railroad crossings at Division Street and 25th Court, and to partially close a public railroad crossing at Old Okeechobee Road. Mr. Falbright?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm going to discuss a little bit about this is one of the requirements and provisions as far as the process that we're going through with FDOT for the eventuality of getting the Fern Street crossing in place. So in order to do so, in order to open a crossing, they require that you close additional crossings as a substitute for what you're going to be opening. So the requirement is a minimum of 2 crossings. We have offered 25th Court and Division, which are located as according to this map. They're both at-grade crossings. They're up there near 25th Street. And in addition to that, in our discussions with FDOT, we talked about the circulation and access for what's going to continue to take place at those 2 locations after we make those closures. We did meet with the businesses that are along those 2 sections of roadways there and got their consensus for this thing, as well as from the fire department and the police department for those closures to take place. In the discussions with FDOT, they also wanted us to do a little bit additional, so we worked up and offered to them the option of doing the old Okeechobee Boulevard partial closure, which would be the diagonal section, which is along here, that's in the southbound direction, which means we would need to make some modifications to the Parker Avenue, Old Okeechobee intersection, which is going to involve modifications, probably putting a traffic signal up there, try to incorporate some complete street components to that particular section of roadway. But with those basically 2.5 crossing closures, it will allow us to move forward in the process with FDOT for the eventual Fern Street opening. And the stipulation of parties that FDOT has put together for this outlines what our requirements are for these particular closures, of what we would need to be responsible for, the maintenance of traffic, putting everything back together, and we're going to be working with FDOT directly, as well as SFRTA, to develop what needs to take place to do those two closures completely. So we're asking that you please approve Resolution 21423 to allow these stipulation of parties to be executed so that we can continue the process. The next steps would be we are going to work with SFRTA to get a reimbursement agreement with them, because they're going to do some of the track work design for the Fern Street crossing, and we are in the process of doing some surveying out there on the trackway to get some data for that, as well as they will develop another stipulation of parties that I'll bring back to the commission whenever that's ready. I would anticipate in a few months from now, that will address the requirements for the actual Fern Street crossing opening itself. And so that's where we're headed with this right now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see this moving forward. It's been many years coming. I just wanted to understand better about, is it a requirement from FDOT that we close 2 crossings in order to get 1 crossing?
It's actually a Florida statute that they cite in their documents that says that they need, you can ask for a waiver, but they were not willing to go for that. We do need to close at least 2 crossings. We're closing 2.5 crossings.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 214-23.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 5062-23, amending boards, committees, and commissions to remove provisions allowing advisory board members to hold meetings remotely through communication media technology. Ms.
Good e-
Rothenberg?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is second reading of the ordinance. There's been no changes since first reading, and we would request that you approve ordinance number 5062-23 on second reading.
Very good. Are there any questions, comments on this item? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 5062-23 on second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5062-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 1, generally, removing Section 2.65, meetings by electronic means, to 2.68, providing for codification, providing for severability and conflict, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.2, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5059-23, authorizing the execution of the lease agreement between the city and the Cox Science Center and Aquarium, Inc. Ms. Rockwell?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Leah Rockwell, Director of Parks and Recreation. I'm here to present to you ordinance 5.5. 9-23. So the background for this, the city of West Palm Beach owns the land in Dreher Park where the Cox Science Center and Aquarium is located. Since 1995, we've had a lease with the Science Center in Dreher Park. The Science Center has been a cultural facility offering unique learning experiences in science and history for our residents and visitors. They also offer a lot of educational STEM programming. That's the science, technology, engineering, and math that our children so need. So the Cox Science Center was the recipient of a very large donation, which they have developed a strategic plan for, and they started that in 2017 to guide the improvements and expansion of the center. The plan was an 8-year endeavor from 17 to 2025, so we're well into their plan. The plan provided for a multi-phase approach, with the final phase including the proposed expansion of the lease area in Dreher Park, and I know that we've had several meetings showing those expansions. So in Dreher Park, they're looking for an addition of an approximate plus or minus 3.95 acres from the current plus or minus 6.55 acres that they currently have. So by resolution number 10422, the City Commission made the legislative finding that the plus or minus 5.37 acres of city property adjacent to the Science Center was not needed for city purposes, declaring the property surplus and authorizing the negotiation of lease terms. So we're here today to present to you those lease terms. So first, let's talk about the expansion. The Science Center seeks to construct an expansion of their facilities. This is to include a new 3-story, 66,896 square foot building addition, construction of an operations building, an expansion or an expansive new pedestrian area and courtyard of about 6,000 square feet, and a new north parking lot with 42 parking spaces and 4 parking spaces for those buses from the schools and camps that come to visit. And you can see on the screen just a visual of what the new center itself might look like when it's built. So the city passed a lease management policy through an ordinance number 486819, and that's why we're here today. And the purpose of that ordinance was to set a policy for uniform procedures for leases or rentals of real property owned by the city. And this applies to all city-owned properties, with the exception of City Hall buildings and other buildings currently occupied for use for municipal purposes. So here we are presenting you the lease for the Science Center based on the management policy. So the proposed lease terms is a 50-year lease with an option to extend the term for an additional 20 years. The expansion, the lease area will be increased by an additional plus or minus 3.95 acres, which will result in a consolidated lease area of plus or minus 10.5 acres. So if you look at the map or the drawing, the plan on the screen, you can see that the inside, not the big strong dotted lines, but the inside dotted lines represents the additional lease area, except for that little peachy color building inside, because that was given to them under a previous lease. It was the city's garden club, and now it's their science. They do a lot of educational programming out of that. So that's not included in this addition because that was already in their lease. So the intended schedule contemplates the completion of the expansion of this project within 5 years, subject to reasonable causes for delay as provided in the lease. The base rent under this lease would be $100 per year. There are additional terms that we're proposing. After the first 10 years of the lease, the Science Center will pay additional rent, providing that the endowment of the foundation is at least $25 million, and that's adjusted annually on the Consumer Price Index. The Science Center has budgeted and reserved for any required capital projects as determined by the Board of Directors of the Science Center. And thirdly, the Science Center has a positive net operating income in such year. So we would not receive additional rent unless these three items were in place. In such circumstances, the Science Center shall pay 25% of the net revenue from the property as additional rent. So the additional rent would be used for very specific things. It can only be used for capital improvement projects in Dreer Park, capital improvement projects for intersections and streets adjacent to Dreer Park, or such other projects or programs as suggested by the city and agreed to by the Science Center. So in accordance with Ordinance Section 2-31, Section 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, a lease for property with a term of 5 years or longer shall be approved by ordinance requires at 2 readings. One such vote must be supermajority of the City Commission. The second reading would be scheduled for Monday, September 18th, 2023. And that's the end of my presentation.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Peduzzi?
Just a quick question, and I don't know if this was already gone over at some other point, but the rest of the property, not this new addition, the rest of the property, I assume, is also leased from the city. And could you let us know what that lease term is? How much longer do they have on that lease?
So this lease will supersede the old lease.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I recommend approval of ordinance number 5059-23.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
I'm sorry, did you say 5059?
Yes, approval of ordinance number 5059-23.
Is that,
Yes.
you okay with that, City Attorney?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. If there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, could read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5059-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, approving a lease agreement between the City of West Palm Beach and the Cox Science Center and Aquarium, Inc., authorizing execution of the lease and all documents necessary to effectuate these purposes, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the ordinance of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.3, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5063-23, approving an amendment to the agreement for purchase and sale of 8111 South Dixie Highway between the City of West Palm Beach and Woodfield Flagler Venture LLC. Ms. Ferriero.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the public, city commissioners. I'm Jennifer Ferriero, Housing and Community Development Director. On February 6, via Ordinance 502922, the City Commission approved an agreement with Flagler Realty and Development and Woodfield Development for the purchase and sale of city-owned property located at 8111 South Dixie Highway. As a condition, or one of the stipulations in the agreement, was that the developer had to come back before the City Commission and present a final concept plan within 6 months of the within 6 months of the execution of the agreement. And the purpose of having that stipulation is to ensure that the final concept plan is consistent or has no material changes from what was originally presented by the developer. The developer did present that on July 12th, and via Resolution 18223, the City Commission approved that final concept plan, again unanimously, which did include a density bonus for the total number of residential units, as well as workforce housing units. Before we move forward and discuss why the developer is enabled or has the ability to seek a density bonus, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here today. In essence, all that we're doing is amending the agreement to reflect the approved concept plan. The developer has some tight deadlines to ensure that they are receiving the financial, or to ensure financial closing of the project. And in order for them to be able to do that, they have to demonstrate or show that the agreement reflects the total number of units and show that in their development pro forma. So I just want to make sure that we understand that this is just, we're moving forward with amending the agreement as the landowner in our proprietary capacity, not necessarily in a regulatory capacity. I want to remind you that the increase in density and the number of housing units will still require regulatory approval. There is a special plan review, site plan review by the City Commission that needs to be held, and that is when the developer will seek that density bonus. So I want to be mindful that today is not the last time that we will be reviewing this project. And I also want to, make sure that we keep in mind that this amendment in no way constitutes or should be construed in any way an approval of a density bonus or an approval of the increase in number of units or the issue of a development order. So in 2020, the Florida legislature enacted House Bill 1339, which really allowed municipalities to develop or adopt laws and ordinances or any rules to increase the supply of affordable and workforce housing. At that time, we had a high interest from the development community to move forward with taking advantage of the potential rules under HB 1339. And as such, the City Commission put together or passed City Resolution 30622, which provided regulations for how we were going to enable HB 1339. So under that resolution, it allows for an increase in density, intensity, and height when a percentage of the units are set aside at workforce housing levels. The ordinance also provides guidelines and standards for the review of those applications seeking that bonus. Under the resolution, any projects that are in multifamily, high-density residential areas, they have the ability to double their building capacity. So, for example, an MF32 designation currently provides or gives you the ability to develop 32 units per acre. Under Resolution 30622, should you set aside a certain percentage of the density bonus at workforce housing levels, you have the ability to double that capacity to 64 units per acre. So the proposed amendment, I'm trying to illustrate, we put together a chart just to illustrate what the existing agreement stipulates, what's allowed under the resolution, and what the actual proposed amendment indicates. So currently under the existing agreement, the developer is required to develop 210 residential units. Under the resolution, should they take advantage of it, they have the ability to go up to 420 residential units. The developer is proposing 358 residential units, which is 68 less than what is permitted under the resolution. Under the workforce housing set-asides, the developer under the existing agreement is proposing 52 workforce housing units, broken down to 13 units at 60% of the area median income, 13 at 80% of the area median income, and the remaining 26 at 100% of the area median income. Under the resolution, 25% of the units shall be at 100% AMI or less. The resolution does not provide a breakdown in the area median income. Under the proposed amendment, the developer is proposing 90 workforce housing units broken down evenly, 25% at 60% AMI, 25% at 80% AMI, and the remaining at 100% of the area median income. This provides for 38 additional workforce housing units than what was originally proposed, and also targeting lower AMIs. The period of affordability under the agreement, the developer is required to restrict the units for the useful life of the residential portion of the building, but no less than 40 years. The resolution limits or restricts the units for a period of 20 years. In the proposed amendment, there is no changes to the period of affordability, and which is double than actually what the resolution requires. I want to keep in mind that the project goals and objectives of the ITN are still being met. We're not Deriving from that, I'm not going to read them. We've talked about them numerous of times, but all the project goals and objectives and the terms and conditions originally negotiated in the agreement, all of those are still consistent. The developer will continue their community engagement efforts. I want to remind you of the meeting they held on July 12th at the West Palm Beach Golf Park, which they presented the status of the project. They talked about the increase in density. They talked about the overall project. There were about over 35 stakeholders, including SENA board members, local area residents, and some business owners. With that said, we respectfully recommend approval of ordinance number 5063, which includes the amendment to the agreement for the purchase of sale for 8111 South Dixie Highway. The second reading has been scheduled for Monday, September 18th, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions, comments? All right, we do have a couple of cards. As I read your name, if you start approaching the podium, Ross Harness and Matthew Luciano.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission, Ross Harness, 36 and Spruce in the North End, and also President of Connect West Palm Beach. I just wanted to say that generally we're supportive of more density for these types of developments, as we're in a housing crisis in the city and people are really struggling to find their housing. But I wanted to also use this as an opportunity to discuss about some of the transit-related options that have been discussed, or mobility-related things that have been discussed on the South End. Notably, the work that is not being taken place on South Dixie. This could serve as a sort of anchor for some sort of north-south public transit that the city has to help our residents move around. We're cognizant of the traffic and parking related issues on the South End and realize how moving in this direction for more and more density could help or could cause more struggles to the people that are there now and to the people that are there in the future. And we believe that this is a good opportunity to start having that conversation again about how we can sort of redesign a little bit of how we get around in the city to try to alleviate that struggle for the residents that have those concerns. Right now we have Route 1 that goes north-south on Dixie Highway, and then we have the good bike lanes on Lake Avenue down there, so I think we have a good start, but we definitely need a little bit of a discussion on how we can pursue that even further to help alleviate some of those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matthew Luciano.
Yes, hi, I'm Matthew Luciano, 372 Macy Street, South End, also District 5 Commissioner candidate. I'm here to speak on behalf of many people that oppose the increase in density of the 8111 South Dixie project. It's a 70% increase in units. If you do the math, that's you guys should have gotten a market value of $17.9 million for the land. Now, my recommendation, which is gone and a long time ago out the window, if you sold it as single-family units, you probably could have got $24 million for it. The town also needs houses, three bedroom, four bedroom unit homes. People enjoy pools in the South End. It is a community, and that's why people like it, because of single family homes. I get the need for housing, and that should be done up here in Clematis, uptown here, which you guys have done. You've done it, parabolically, thousands upon thousands of units. I think that town should digest those before we continue to increase the density in the South End. I don't know if anyone thought about the density within, that's not the incorrect word there, but within Forest Hill High School. It's well beyond the capacity. The roads are jammed. Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I'm tough time getting out on South Dixie sometimes. I just think it's a wrong place for this. I know this is done and out the window, but if I can do something to help stem the flow of these the mid-rises down there, that would be great. I mean, it is zoned really for 3 stories, and I think we're setting a poor precedent by increasing that by 300%. I mean, you know, sometimes I'd like to increase my speed on the highway by 300%, but, you know, that's not really possible. But here, you know, that was done, and I think it was done at a huge disservice to the town at $10.5 million. So, you know, I think when you consider that proposal, number one, I hope it doesn't go anywhere. But number two, you double the price for that, and that would better serve the residents, but please don't do it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. That's the last of our cards, and Commissioner Baduzzi and then Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, I think this project's been a long time in the coming, and I believe it's been well received by our residents in the South End and other areas of the city that have really been waiting to see this particular site developed. And I think it's a good project, and I look forward to supporting it this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. I just wanted to say something similar that we've heard from so many residents who have waited many years to have a great project on this property. And of course, not every project is perfect for every person, but the majority of the people that I've heard from in the South End have just been very excited to see something activated in this space. And I also just wanted to mention the idea of having additional transportation options. I know that we have talked about what will come for phase 2 and phase 3 of our pilot program with Circuit and Rose Trolley, and whether or not it's another trolley going forward. We have discussed possibly adding more routes in the South End and in the North End. You know, I think tonight we've talked a lot about the Science Center as well. I think 8111 would be a great destination. So I just want to go on record as saying that hopefully we will continue to include those in our plans for the next phase. Thank you.
Thank you. President Warren?
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Ferriel. I, too, am looking forward to this project moving forward. And if we have, I'd be happy to make a motion.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Madam President?
I move approval of ordinance number 5063-23 on first reading.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5063-23, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, approving an amendment to the agreement for purchase and sale of real property with Woodfield Flagler Venture LLC for the sale of city property located at 8111 South Dixie Highway, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9.4, public hearing of resolution number 207-23, a request by Harvey E. Oyer III of Schutzenborn LLP on behalf of Temple Israel of West Palm Beach, Inc. for the abandonment of a 15-foot wide by 15-foot long, or 225 square feet parcel of land and remnant portion of an abandoned segment of a platted alley generally located at the southeast corner of the unnumbered lot south of Lot 11, Block 2, in the plat of Pinewood Terrace addition to West Palm Beach, Florida, and releasing reserved utility easements. Mr. Oyer?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you on behalf of Temple Israel, which is celebrating its centennial in our community this year. I am accompanied by the president of the board of Temple Israel, Marty List, a longtime resident of West Palm Beach. This is a relatively simple request. In the yellow box is a 15-foot by 15-foot alley that was meant to be abandoned over 40 years ago, and for whatever reason, Scrivener's error, legal description problem, not sure what it was not abandoned. So we are seeking the abandonment of that this evening. So this highlights it a little bit better. The box in the red circle is what we're seeking your approval to abandon a remnant of an alley. The alley in light blue, which is L-shaped, was part of the original plat of the subdivision in 1912. In 1976, the north-south strip was vacated. 2 years later, in 1978, the east-west strip was vacated, but for whatever reason, They didn't, they probably both assumed that the other one got the box in the corner, but neither one did, and we discovered this through a routine title search. In addition to seeking the vacation of that remnant of the alley, we also are seeking disclaimers for reserved public utility easements because the entire L shape had a reserved public utility easement. Public has never used the utility easement, so staff is in favor of disclaiming those. So the resolution before you is to do three things. One, vacate the 15 by 15 foot square, and to disclaim the public use for utilities in both the north-south strip and the east-west strip. And incidentally, if you're wondering, is there alley access? There is. It was moved to that yellow L shape to the west. So same public purpose has been achieved. There are two sets of criteria that this needs to comply with. One is found in section 78-217 of the city code, and that is the general criteria for vacating or closing an alley. The second is because this is in the CMUD, Curry Mixed Use District, there are additional standards applicable in CMUD. We believe we meet all of these. Your staff agrees with us, so we enjoy a staff recommendation for approval. I thought it might be helpful for you to see the original 1912 plat that created it. On the left and on the right is what that looks like today. And with that, I will entertain any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Oyer? All right. Staff, what say ye?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Linda Louie, Principal Planner for the record. So as the applicant had mentioned, that this is just a cleanup of the abandonments that had occurred in the 1970s. And staff has also reviewed the abandonment in compliance with section 78-217 of the city's Code of Ordinances, and staff is recommending approval of resolution 20723. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Baduzzi?
Thank you. Now, ordinarily, when there's an abandonment of an alley, there's a monetary value assigned to that abandonment. I don't see that anywhere here. Is that because this is just considered a cleanup?
It is a cleanup.
And does that parcel, even if it's just 15 by 15, does it have any monetary value?
No, it does not. It's a Scrivener's error, and it is being corrected on our part. So therefore, there is no monetary value tied to this portion of the abandonment.
So just a brief follow-up then. So if I understand you correctly, this was a Scrivener's error that should have been probably abandoned in 1978 and wasn't.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, we do have two cards. If I call out your name, please approach the podium. Carl Camella and William Holland. Actually, Mr. Holland did not wish to speak, but he is in support. Okay, Mr. Camella, Carl Camella, is he here? Okay, he doesn't have any indication. Oh, there he is. Okay, very good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carl Camella. I own property on 316 Pine Street. In 78 I bought it, 16, and 312 and 80. And never lived there much, but lately I do live there. But years ago, at least 20 years ago, there, all of a sudden the town redid the whole alley, except my two properties. You should see it. I would like you to come over and have a look. I had many people there, like Mr. Joyce and Mr. Underwood, and many, many other people all those years, and nothing's been done. I don't know. I wonder why. They did the whole alley, not my two properties. Very strange. So, when I just come here tonight because the Temple Israel had something to say about the alley there and so on. So, and maybe, maybe Mr. James can come have a look. Would be interesting. It just takes 10 minutes of your time. So, and all those years, I've been since 1978. I've been there. I've been over 50 years here in town. So, and maybe somebody has time to have a look. And please call me. Can I give you my card? So
You can leave it
can
with the
come?
clerk, sir.
I will. Or somebody can come?
You can leave it with the clerk, your card.
Leave it? With whom?
Right,
This?
right down
Okay.
there. Okay, are you
Thank you very
finished?
much.
Actually, give it to the gentleman right behind you.
And what?
Give it to the gentleman right behind you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, it's all the cards. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 207-23.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, Commissioners, we're moving now into the quasi-judicial portion of the meeting. I'll need you to make your disclosures, and we'll start with, looks like Commissioner Baduzzi's ready.
Mayor, I believe this item is being continued, so do we still need to do disclosure?
Well, okay. All right. Okay, so then I need thank you, Commissioner Peduzzi. So we don't need to make disclosures, because that's the only item on the quasi-judicial. So I will entertain a motion for the continuance.
Mayor, I move we approve continuance of item 10.1 to our meeting on September 18, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
I would ask to amend the motion. Commissioner Warren has the language.
Okay. Commissioner?
Mayor, I move that we continue item number 506123 to the September 18th, 2023 City Commission meeting to be held in the City Commission chambers at 401 Clematis Street during the commission meeting that starts at 5 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we turn to the public comment portion of the meeting. Have some cards. Sasha Ornstein, Michael Cleveland, and Sandy Makovich. Sasha Ornstein, okay?
Thank you. In March, this commission passed an
Could you just state your name and address for the record?
Terribly sorry. Sasha Orenstein, 2500 Florida Avenue. In March, this commission passed an ordinance limiting food shares, specifically requiring a permit for what the ordinance termed large group feeding events in public places, notably parks. I would ask that we call this for what it is, effectively a ban on feeding the homeless. The clearest indicator of this is that food shares are limited to 2 times per year in the ordinance. I do not believe the intentions of this ordinance can be any clearer. This ordinance, as it is written, destroys community-led food sharing events across the city. Food Not Bombs, one of the organizations targeted, has been doing food shares in the same place for 16 years before this ban was enacted. Since this ban went into effect, a number of people have been cited by the police and are due to be arraigned in court for the crime of sharing meals. Part of the justification for this ban is the idea that these food shares create too much litter for the city to handle, a claim which I believe is patently without evidence. I've observed and participated in a number of these food shares myself in Nancy Graham Park and have never found a scrap of garbage that wasn't properly thrown away by a volunteer. In fact, I would hazard to guess that these events held on the park on Clematis Street generate no more garbage than the regular passerby crossing the park in search of their $20 cocktail. Another claim I've heard is that the presence of so many homeless people in these parks at the feeding creates a public nuisance. The homeless people that are being targeted by this ordinance are not nuisances. They're not annoyances, they're human beings. They deserve the tiniest shred of decency to be allowed meals. Yes, poverty is unsightly, but the solution is not to make the lives of the most vulnerable residents of the city even worse. I find it unconscionable that in a housing crisis which has pushed so many of our residents onto the streets, our response is to criminalize sharing food with the homeless. We are not asking anything from you. We don't need your time. We don't need your money. We don't need you to lift a finger. All we want is the right to once again show human decency, a right which we enjoyed for many years before this ordinance was passed. I sincerely hope the Commission will find its humanity and repeal this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael Cleveland.
Good evening to all present. Michael Cleveland, West Palm. At the last meeting, the 21st of August, there was a approval of a car wash at Olive Avenue at Southern Boulevard. Commissioner of the 4th District had some concerns about the idea of being approved right next to the residence. I have a similar situation that's going to occur next to my residence with a pickleball court and a parking lot within 5 feet of my bedroom window. Something had to be done. Operating from 7 to 11 p.m. Committees. I served on a committee for 24 years, CRA, Advisory Committee. Nothing wrong with committees. It's a matter of what you can do for your city and for your citizens. A lot of people was on it. I was never given a piece of paper to say thanks. I'm not offended. I just want to let you know. At also the last meeting, Commissioner, District 1, blurted out comments about Pleasant City. I just want to tell you people that anything you say about Pleasant City, it's got to be on the ups and ups. That's my home for the last 74 years. And I just don't tolerate nonsense. But I will say this. That commissioner could name 3 streets in Pleasant City other than numbers. And currently she's interested in Pleasant City because over the last 15, 20 years, there's been a concern to try and merge Pleasant City with Northwood. Pleasant City is very valuable to the city because it sits between downtown and Northwood. Property is really, it's going to be valuable pretty soon, especially with this construction project coming up on Flagler. I just would like to say, her position is respected, but to me, she's nothing but a watery diarrhea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandy Makovich.
Sandy Makovich, West Palm Beach. June 2023, 1 dead, 1 injured in West Palm Beach shooting, 2200 block of Belvedere Road. July, 15-year-old girl shot and hospitalized in serious condition, Tamarind Avenue. July, 2 people were hospitalized following a shooting in West Palm Beach, Lake Mangonia Apartments. August, 1 killed, another critical after shooting at Village Boulevard apartment complex. September 23, the shooting occurred on 6th Street off North Tamarind Avenue. September, body found floating in the canal, possible homicide. 8 people shot in West Palm Beach in 3 months. Other crimes: burglary for motor vehicles, residential burglary, aggravated assault, individual robbery, to name a few other crimes. With the crime in West Palm Beach, can someone explain to me why 5 or 6 police officers, along with 4 police cruisers, arrived on Clematis Street to stop FNB, Food Not Bombs, from giving a hot meal to the homeless, many their first and only meal of the day? 3 people from FNB, along with myself, was arrested after the feeding. We must appear in court end of the month and subject to a $500 fine and or 60 days in jail. I am not a member of FNB, but I do support the continued struggle attempting to feed an individual who is hungry. My main reason I attend these meetings is to observe, and when the feeding ends, I police the entire area to ensure no trash is left behind. I don't want the city complaining the area is left with trash. Last Saturday's feeding, I picked up a pizza box and 2 soft drinks from a well-dressed couple who finished eating, got up and walked away, leaving their trash behind. I placed it in the barrel. Every one of you commissioners have a district where you represent residents. Who represents the homeless population? Show of hands, please. Okay. No one. It must be nice to be able to pick and choose who you will represent. Developers, yes. Homeless, no. Influential people, yes. Homeless, no. James?
Thank you very much. Your time is up.
I'll put it in the story.
Nicholas Lubides.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Nicholas Cubides. I live in Lakeside Green in West Palm Beach. I am here today because 2 weeks ago I went to Publix. I bought a case of water and some potatoes. I made a vegetarian potato soup. I served it in the park. And guess what? Now I have a court date for September 26th. Now, I don't understand how your point in time census can say that you have thousands of homeless people in this area, which has gone up from last year, but that you're solving the problem, and that this is part of the solution? This right here? Not helping people, not helping me, not helping those groups? These church groups and these nonprofits, many of whom are applying for your permits now, which is great. We're happy for them. They have that capacity. I do not. I'm a regular guy. I make a pot of potato soup at home. Where am I going to get a permit for that? Where's the commercial kitchen for the food license I'm supposed to have? I bring water to the park, and now that's a problem? Now I got a court date for $500 or 60 days in jail? Is that a joke, guys? You know what you're doing. It's not the first time you tried to decimate the homeless population through inhumane acts. It's not the last time. It's not the first time I've been here for this. It's not the first time the Lord's Place has been here for this, or St. Anne's, or any of these groups. By the way, they don't serve on the weekends. Your city services, they don't serve on the weekends. The people that are forced to live out there because you guys don't have a solution yet, because hard times fell on them, they don't eat for 2 days. So what do? You give a ticket to the people that are helping share food with them? A joke. A joke. Well, you know what? I'm going to be here at the next meeting with my friends. We're going to be at the court date on the 26th. We're going to have our legal representation. We're going to have our friends. We're going to have the media. We're going to make sure you hear about this. We're going to make sure that this is changed. You either solve the problem or you are the problem. And you know what? I cannot believe you have the gall to respond to the Palm Beach Post editorial opinion yesterday, where Jeff Weinberger writes about the plight of innocent people that are trying to do this work, that are just trying to be helpful. And your response is that you're spending millions of dollars to help the problem, but there's too much trash. Millions of dollars, and there's too much trash. Pay a trash collector. Give someone a job. Not a ticket, not a court date. Don't sentence somebody to death because they can't eat on the weekend, because you don't have the capacity or the church groups don't have the capacity. This is a First Amendment right. Churches can serve food. Organizations that use serving food as political free speech are allowed to do this. This is the First Amendment. Shame on you. You know what you're doing. You talk to the city lawyer. You talk to each other.
Thank you
Many
very
of you
much.
have been
Your time
educated.
is up. Thank
you know
you
what's
very
going
much.
on.
Your time
no,
is
we'll
up.
walk my.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Thank you very much. Your time is up. Escort him out of here, please. Thank you. All right, that's the last card, and now we'll turn to comments from the dais. President Warren.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor. I would like to say that September is National Food Safety Education Month. And this month, take an active role in preventing foodborne illnesses, also known as food poisoning. September is National Infant Mortality Awareness Month. Infant mortality is the death of an infant before their first birthday, and every baby deserves the right to have a chance of a quality of life and see their first year. And particularly the first year is critically important because we know that during the first week of life that is the most vulnerable time for a newborn infant. And evidence supports that if a baby lives to see their first birthday, that they have a greater chance of survival. And there are some organizations like the Children's Services Council of Palm Beach County that take a very active role in ensuring that there are education services and different services that are available for mothers and fathers and babies so that they have every opportunity. And some of those programs that are funded by Children's Services Council focused on this initiative include the WIN Nurses, Bridges of Palm Beach County, Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, and Community Voice, as well as other programs throughout Palm Beach County. The most common cause of death in the United States is birth defects, preterm birth, sudden infant death syndrome, pregnancy complications, and accidents. Non-Hispanic blacks are more than twice as likely to die from infant mortality than non-Hispanic white children. Overall, the infant mortality rate in Palm Beach County and throughout the United States has dropped in the last several decades. And about 5 years ago, Palm Beach County led the nation in improvement in healthy birth outcomes for our children, and that was largely led by the Healthy Beginnings Coalition. So we're continuing to see tremendous improvement there. September is also Sickle Cell Awareness Month, National Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Sickle cell disease is a group of inherited blood disorders in which red blood cells become misshapen and harden. Sickle cell is considered a lifelong disease. When someone suffers with sickle cell disease, there's a genetic mutation that has occurred that causes those red blood cells to sickle. Most often people talk about pain crises, painful pain crises, pain episodes that they go through regularly. They suffer from serious health problems, including stroke, eye problems, infections, and frequent episodes of those pain crises that lead to a lot of hospitalization. And most frequently, 1 week of hospitalization can cost $20,000. And currently, bone marrow transplant is the only known cure for sickle cell disease. Here in West Palm Beach, the Sickle Cell Foundation was started approximately 50 years ago. Started right here in West Palm Beach and Pleasant City on Beautiful Street by a young lady named Eva W. Mack, who was District 1 Commissioner at the time and went on to become a mayor of the city, and she was a huge advocate. Her home is still standing today on Beautiful Street, and the Sickle Cell Foundation is still collaborating with other community-based organizations to serve the most vulnerable populations. September 15th through October 15th, we will be acknowledging Hispanic Heritage Month, notably. And the idea for Hispanic Heritage Month began as a way to promote history, culture, and contributions of Hispanic Americans. I'd like to make note of, for those that are students, there are several grant opportunities that are available, and I hope that you can pursue them. The Gates Scholarship offers over 300 student leader scholarships ranging from $20,000 to $60,000, and that is open. There's a Hispanic Heritage Youth Award. There is Florida Blue Oval Scholarship, and notably there's an award for 1,000 recipients, and it's the NACEME Scholars Black block grant program. So I recommend, if you're interested in this information, that you go to scholaro.com. That's Laroo, scholaro.com, Hispanic Student Scholarship, and look at those scholarships that are available. There are many opportunities, and we hope that you can continue your education. As we move forward, I will be recognizing Hispanic organizations and businesses through October 15th. And at each of the commission meetings, I will be identifying places that I'm hoping that you will have the opportunity to support. And I'll start with, even though it's prior to Hispanic Heritage Month, it's never too early to recognize the small businesses and organizations. Tip Top Car Wash Incorporated, located at 1450 North Military Trail, and Salento Coffee Shop, located at 407 Clematis Street, and Tulipian Bakery, located at 740 Belvedere Road, and Rivales Taqueria and Craft Bar, located at 106 North Olive, all in West Palm Beach. Again, I will be identifying locations through October 15th. And on September 27th, West Palm Beach will be hosting the Palm Beach County League of Cities, where we will have the opportunity to invite dignitaries from all over Palm Beach County to come into West Palm Beach and see the different things that are happening in our progress in our city. So I'm looking forward to us hosting the other leaders throughout the county. I'd like to thank MintEco for adopting Chillingsworth Park as your park that you're supporting. And congratulations to you for the location that you've opened in District 2, where you were able to move into old space that had been abandoned and create a new business opportunity. And I'd also like to thank Officer Seth for being present and a partner in society and helping to partner with those organizations to keep Chillingsworth clean and organized. And just thank you for being a partner in safety throughout our community, Officer Seth. And that is it. That concludes my commission comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you so much. I'll add on to that. I want to highlight a Hispanic business as well in my area. And of course, the first one I think of is Mestizos, because it's one of my favorite restaurants. It's right on Northwood Road, and they have cornucopia next door, which is breakfast. But if you haven't tried it yet, it made like the top 100 in Palm Beach County. So go out and taste the wonderful Peruvian food that they offer. I want to congratulate Pleasant City First Neighborhood Association for an amazing Pleasant City family reunion this past Saturday that they held in Blum Park all day. There's lots of community members out and about enjoying the day, enjoying the park, and enjoying all the vendors. So kudos to that neighborhood association, because they're up and running, they're getting increased membership, and they're finding the fun in their neighborhood. So it's fantastic. Also, there is, if you're interested in learning about the proposed changes to 36th Street from Australian to Flagler, there's a second community meeting. They had one last week in the Mandel Library. They're having this one this Thursday. It's the 7th at 6 p.m. at 3201 Electronics Way. Again, that's for 36th Street, Australian to Flagler. There is the Chiefs meeting on Wednesday, September 13th at 6:30 p.m. at Gaines Park Community Center that we have every month. And the BMUD, our Broadway Mixed Use District, we're starting that process of community outreach and to see what can be done for the revisioning of that mixed use district. And so the kickoff meeting will be Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m. at the Manatee Lagoon Center, and that's 600 North Flagler Drive. And then I wanted to highlight a couple workshops being held by North End Rise. So in partnership with the West Palm Beach Sustainability, North End Rise is having their home improvement program where residents can learn conservation tips and receive free resources. The upcoming one is on October 21st from 6 to 8. And then in partnership with the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County, they're offering legal assistance to individuals over 60 years of age with emphasis on abuse and exploitation matters, living wills, powers of attorneys. It's a general elder law workshop. So that will be held on the 7th, on this Thursday at 6 p.m. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much, Mayor. On Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m., the Downtown Neighborhood Association will be hosting a panel discussion titled Building Solutions for Downtown Homelessness. The panel will consist of city staff from our Housing and Community Development team, law enforcement, and community leaders sharing more about their work and their approaches. I think we've heard from some people tonight. We have a lot of people coming to public comment from different nonprofits, but I also receive many calls and emails from downtown residents who want to be compassionate, but they also feel scared and they want to make sure they have a good quality of life. So I think this is going to be an important conversation between all groups to just have a discussion about how we can have all of our collective efforts helping to end homelessness and just make a difference for everyone. So that will be held on Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m. right here on Clematis Street at Palm Beach Drama Works. This Sunday, September 10th at 9 a.m., the West Palm Beach Fire Department will host a 9/11 memorial stair climb to honor and remember all the lives lost on 9/11. Our commission, well, the female members of our commission will have our team, and so if anyone would like to come support us, and the entire fire department, of course, and everyone that is participating, we would love to see you. It's September 10th at 9 a.m. At 515 North Olive. We are the Commission on a Mission team, so we would look forward to seeing you all. I also wanted to mention that it was a fantastic weekend at the Pleasant City Family Reunion. It was so great to see many of my colleagues here on the dais, as well as our friendly Palm Beach Post reporter who must have drawn the short straw because somehow he ended up spending his weekend with us also on his birthday. So I was thinking, Mayor, that maybe you wanted to lead a rendition of Happy Birthday, a little bit delayed, but
No.
okay.
I mean, you're welcome to do that as part of your comments.
Okay, well, thank you anyway, and happy birthday, Wayne. Thank you for being there as well, and that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Peduzzi?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to briefly address some of our citizens who came up today to talk about an issue that is a complex issue and that we're working on a daily basis to try to find solutions. It's my feeling that the city has taken a proactive approach to homelessness and poverty, taking meaningful steps to effectuate real change in our community. To address the underlying causes of what actually puts people on our streets. We have numerous homeless outreach staff, likely more than all of the other municipalities combined. With that being said, we can't do it alone. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. We have to call on our county and municipal partners to assist us with a problem that is not just West Palm Beach's problem, even though the majority probably of the homeless population is right here in our city. I don't know the exact numbers, but my hunch is that we have the lion's share of homelessness that are at least coming through the city of West Palm Beach just because of our geography, topography, and the fact that there are so many programs here and so many, so many resources. But we can't do it alone. And we know that we have attracted the homeless and other people that are living on the streets to our city from all over the county. And in fact, we know that other counties are telling some of the homeless population in their areas, go to West Palm Beach. They'll take good care of you there. This is not just West Palm Beach's problem. And again, I'm going to call, as I said, on our municipal partners here in Palm Beach County and Palm Beach County Commission to help us with this problem. This is a problem that we can solve if we work together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. A few comments, but let me piggyback on what you just said, Commissioner. And I just want to clarify some things. The citations that were issued were not issued because people were feeding the homeless. The citations were issued because people were callously and intentionally violating a city ordinance. They had been issued warnings several weeks in advance that this behavior was inconsistent and in violation of the city ordinance. And they persisted. And just like any other ordinance, if there was a violation of any other city's other ordinances, you would expect the city to take action. So this was an action of last resort. I mean, it's not, no one up here gets any satisfaction out of issuing citations to citizens who think they're doing the right thing, but there are laws and there are rules. And we impose the ordinance, we adopted the ordinance because we're trying to find a balance between certainly empathy and sympathy for those who are in that condition, but also recognizing that our public spaces, our parks, are to be enjoyed by all. And if you encourage the homeless to congregate there, you're discouraging other folks from utilizing and enjoying those parks to the fullest benefit. So, we passed an ordinance. You may not agree with the ordinance, but you should expect consequences if you intentionally violate the ordinance. It's as simple as that. So, don't confuse the narrative and say that you got a citation because you were feeding the homeless. No, you got a citation because you were violating a city ordinance of which you were well aware and of which you were warned weeks in advance. We are a country of laws. We are a city of laws, and we will enforce the ordinances. Now, we will continue to look for ways in which to address, as you said, Commissioner Peduzzi, the underlying causes of homelessness. And yes, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. This is not a West Palm Beach problem. It's not even a Palm Beach County problem. It's a national problem. And related to that, this segues into the comments for tonight. I am hosting a couple of roundtables as part of a new initiative that I'm calling Community Conversations, where we're trying to have, I'm convening roundtable discussions on timely and critical topics. The first one will be this Thursday, where we're looking at the topic of mental health. Mental health is certainly one of the underlying causes of homelessness. It's not the only one. People are homeless for many reasons, and that's why we have 10 full-time employees who are part of our homeless outreach team. When I first got elected, we had 1. We have 10 full-time employees that go out and interact with the homeless, and they meet the homeless where they are to try to find out what the source is. Are you homeless because you met an economic dislocation, you lost a job or something? Are you homeless because you're ill, you have mental illness issues, substance abuse issues? People are homeless for different reasons. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to homelessness. Mental illness is certainly one of the major causes of people ending up on the street. So we're hosting a forum. We're going to have several subject matter experts from federal, state, and local levels. Nonprofits will be there. It's Thursday, September 7th at the Mandel Public Library at 10 a.m. A diverse group of leaders will be on the panel to identify innovative approaches to address the mental health crisis facing the community. I often say, if we treated cancer in this country the way we do mental health, we would still be just chopping off people's limbs. That's how backwards this country is, this city is, this county is when it comes to treating mental health and providing resources for mental health. So I'm using my power of convening to just bring together subject matter experts, leaders in our community to begin the conversation of how can we do better about treating mental health in our city and in our county. So that's Thursday, September 7th at 10 a.m. I'll be convening a second roundtable on the topic of property insurance. I don't control, none of us controls property insurance, but we have a crisis here. And so I thought it would be useful to convene subject matter experts in that area to also engage in a conversation. So that's the property insurance roundtable will take place on Monday, September 11th at 3 p.m. in Flagler Gallery. You can RSVP for both of those by going to WPB.org, and there will be a section there where you could RSVP for the mental health roundtable and/or the property insurance roundtable. There's been a reference to 9/11, which is next Monday. It's a solemn occasion to reflect and remember all those we lost. It's hard to believe that this year marks the 22nd year since a tragic event where nearly 3,000 people lost their lives, and we should not forget. We must never forget. On Sunday, September 10th at 9, the West Palm Beach Fire Department will host its 5th annual 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb at 515 North Flagler Drive. I'm so happy that many of the colleagues on this dais are forming a team. I am just so sorry I cannot join you. I do have a conflict that morning. I'll try to remember what it is when you ask me. No, seriously, you should be commended for putting together that team. We had the pleasure of attending 2 community events last week. One was the ribbon cutting and grand opening of Palm Beach Atlantic Community Transformation Center last Thursday. The CTC program focuses on the training of chaplains to provide crucial spiritual support to individuals and communities grappling with the effects of trauma, and that will be a tremendous addition to our community. And has been alluded to before, I had the Pleasant City Family Reunion has resumed, and they held their event in Bloom Park on Saturday, a heartwarming celebration, bring together that community in the spirit of unity, honoring its rich heritage and strengthening its bonds. And I also encourage each of you to mark your calendars for Wednesday, September 20th. We're having the 3rd and hopefully not last installment of the Evening of Jazz at the waterfront. The Soul in the City series will be featuring CeCe Tennille, and that event takes place at the Lake Pavilion. Tickets are $10 per person. Call, and there's also a way you could try to access it on our website, but it may be sold out, but try anyway. And last but not least, hurricane season is here. September 15 marks the historic height of the season for South Florida. If you haven't heard, there is a storm out in the Atlantic now that we're keeping an eye on. But in any event, everyone should be prepared and get your list together, buy everything you need, your hurricane preparedness, on your preparedness list. And there is tax exemption on materials essential for storm readiness. And also, there's a tax exemption to benefit the purchase of tools. So everyone, please pay attention, proactively plan and prepare. And happy birthday, Mr. Washington. I'm not going to sing. That is not my strong suit. But happy birthday, sir. So that's all I have. Thank everyone. God bless you. God bless the great city of West Palm Beach, and good night.